Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at some excerpts from episode 4 of Street Dance Girl Fighters season 1. If you are wanting to get in on the action on full episode reactions, I have that on Patreon. So what you're going to be seeing are excerpts from when I did that reaction to the entire thing, and there's a chance that some of my feedback is tailored towards other elements that I had already seen previously from the episode, so just kind of keep that in mind whenever I do go over the analysis. But I hope you guys enjoy, and let's check it out.
Cosa de familia no la tiene que escuchar. Lo capo con lo capo y yo soy la mamá. Los secretos solo con quien pueda confiar. Más te vale no romper la muerta. Un amigo nuevo en una haría. Somos la cara, Gaspar Noé. Tono dispara, la vacía. Vivía, la chavita.
Hey!
I got a grip for a lot of. I just don't need to have more. I know it's sweet. I like that.
Ah! That was cool. That was actually cool. That's cool.
From when I came around, you get it fresh, you eat this work right when you come in town. Hopping on a red eye.
노래 이렇게 좋아? 내가 완전 다른데?
Hopping on a red eye. Hopping on a red eye.
Cocanbutter made a good choice. Yeah.
Rest assured that when you're on the other end of it, looking
You also, they didn't dispute on who picked what part, at least that we know of, so that's good.
touchdown.
진짜 앙큼이다?
Wow.
삐쟁이다.
Touchdown. And I will fly out. Let me strong out. And I will fly out.
Oh, that was cool.
Strong out. Oh, only been 10 hours, but my sanity is gone. Hopping on a red eye.
Okay.
Hopping on a red eye. Hopping on a red
Okay. So it was more interesting near the end. Great call to have Nyx be the one to choreograph it. I do think this is one of our least clean ones in terms of just the individual groups that I'm realizing here. And we'll talk about it. So we can get the timing right here. There we go. Okay, so all right, they were wearing two different costumes, which I think is totally fine. And part of me kind of prefers that. It's nice to have everybody wears something slightly different to still represent your being in a crew, but it's more like your own individual aesthetic of that color scheme. But they did choose to go with each crew was wearing something different, so which I think is totally fine. This energy is really cool. I love that woo, and then they pop it right back up. Nice little head ISO there. I couldn't see how clean that was because it was a close-up of one of the numbers. I love the down look, and then they go. It's really fun to see that boom right there. It wasn't quite clear what formation they were trying to go for, but it wasn't anything like a huge discrepancy. Who did they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 6 people, so you do operate. It's trickier to be able to make sure you stay symmetrical. That was nice having that moment in the back while also them tailoring down the level in the front just so we can see all of those things come to life. So it was a really fun choice. I do feel like they are riding the rhythm a little bit more, like they're hitting the movement very full, and they're hitting the count very full, but there's not a lot of variance to the layers that they're hitting. It feels like they're hitting a groove and they're riding the groove on a very similar layer throughout the phrase. And that's something that I always want to encourage, especially in competitive environments like this. What can help your group stand out, especially if they're not, well, I think because they're not as clean either. Like, it's a lot of them are not hitting the range of these grooves the same way, which is why I feel like because we don't have complex movement, and we don't, complex meaning polyrhythmic and dense, and BPM to polyrhythmic comparison, in comparison to like the groove itself. The groove itself is a range of beginner to difficult depending on the styles that you yourself pursue or just to the regular human, right? So I'm not talking about the actual complexity of the groove. I'm talking about complexity with the multitasking of other things happening at the same time. And I just don't feel like we have a lot of that here to help cushion whenever they're not clean or they're not together. So this was nice having that boom, da-da-da, da-da-da. It was a really great moment that happened through digging through because I couldn't see where this opposition was happening. It did feel like one person was going the wrong way, but I do know that wasn't quite the case here. The energy is really nice. I know they are pursuing this is more of a dance Paul pocket. I understand that. But they are choosing to do a lot of unison here. And because they're riding the whole counts a lot more, movement's still very full, love that, but not everybody's hitting it the exact same way. You're kind of sacrificing some of your crispness, your stability, and your cleanliness. That in this type of competition, I feel like those things can really separate a lot of these groups. So, but continuing to look here, the turn, the drop down, that's still really fun. That right there was a cool moment. I did like that moment. It was cool. Yeah, that some of them are already prepping and they're hitting. That was very interesting that they chose to hit that. Normally you have people hit and then they drop, but they kept it up. So that was actually very interesting. You don't normally see people do that. No, that peel out was pretty nice. It was clean. But boom, da da da. I hear what they were trying to go for. Boom, do do do, but they were slightly off. That was nice to see, but also if you notice this transition, I see what they were trying to do because they're coming from a diagonal and one of them has to overshoot and actually go further than the other. And you notice that's why you have this line is just not quite as clean as the transition you would want it to be to open up to whoever's in your center. So part of me wishes that they weren't set up in that double diagonal, because especially if they're coming around from the back, then they would need to have a different approach here so they can branch out more evenly, because right now it feels like a group is having to work a lot harder to get to their spot versus another group, and I'm too busy being distracted by this comparison of one group really having to travel and one group not having to as much versus seeing the reveal nice and seamless. So I think that's my big note here. That was really nice. I love seeing people really go for it, but notice some really took that parallel hinge, and some people are already scooting across the floor and some haven't even touched the ground. So that would be a little thing to think through. Now we also have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6 here as well. So we have 12 total, right? Now here's something interesting to think about. You see the tassels or the extra fabric that they have. I know this is like a do-rag that they're wearing. This extra fabric they have that they're draping down on the sides instead of tying it back, it does have a cool effect. However, it really will affect your cleanliness as a group because you have that extra material, and not everybody has that extra material, because especially when you see in the group joint part, it does look significantly more muddled, and I think part of it is from the fact of just their headgear really doesn't do them any favors. It doesn't help them at all. So I think that's my big note, though. I understand why they did it. It does remind me of Cocoa and Butter. Like, definitely these vibes give me Cocoa and Butter, but what's coming with that are the same notes that I gave Cocoa and Butter about their own routines. I feel like I'm kind of projecting some of that here naturally because they were mentored by them. Hitting it down, boom, and bring it back. Having one feature moment, then having them it wasn't quite clear what they were trying to do in accent on this side, you know, but I really love that they're matching the energy of the track because it is so different. I completely agree. I think Monica, this definitely is a valid point. This part it really travels in a really nice, it feels nice and vibey, you know, it doesn't feel like we're combating anything too aggressively, and that's why it feels the way that it does. So I agree with her. The setup is really nice. I just feel like it could have been a little bit more refined, or their costuming would have really helped in the cleanliness if they kind of thought through that extra material with the other group as well. Let's see if my computer will work. There we go. And I understand that we have more abstract formations. We're noticing they're making different choices, more unpredictable, which I think is really beneficial when you have groups like this. So I really like the fact that they kind of traveled it. It was a whole vibe connecting, and then they all expand outward. And they kind of gave themselves some wiggle room to be a little bit more expressive in their upper body and their arms, which helps in these cases where I don't feel like, oh, everybody's supposed to look the same. They set it up to where you're not supposed to look the same, and it definitely vibes really well. Oh, that boom, 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 really fun. Da da. That was a fun little like, okay moment. Yeah, and down. I'm glad that was at least recognized. The pull through was fun. But if you notice though, like how she's, instead of the, like, for me that sounds like a really wild, like very zipped up kind of sound, you know? And I really feel like she took a more, like a heavier bass approach to it. Like normally when you see somebody choose to use like a chest versus like a traveling type of groove, not traveling to a different spot, but like traveling with your energy, either like traveling up the body or traveling side to side. Normally that's what you see people hit when you hear that type of timbre with that, but she took a more extroverted bass approach. I don't feel like it matched 100% because there wasn't a bass to help with that aftermath of after she hit those positions there. So that would just be my overall note. Like we have boom doo doo. It's nice to see this, and I see that they're trying to elevate the energy, but notice because of the extra material, it is hard to see. So far, I haven't seen them actually be like clean with their range of their arms. Their arms, I really feel like we've kind of neglected outside of being, you know, having to hold positions. Their torsos are nice and they're pretty in check, but those arms are really costing them a lot of range points for me. Yeah, even here, notice that some of them are really tilted over and some are kind of a little bit more linear. And I feel like those little details matter a lot, and it is more chill of a performance, and the draping down was still really fun. I love the framing of the other group. I think it's Floor, right? Floor and Nyx. Yeah, and I like the choice of them rolling through. That was really fun. But just notice, like, this is what I'm talking about. You see that with Floor, I mean, I like the usage of the levels. This is really nice, but I want you to notice, though, there's this extra material that's hanging out over here that's really causing extra extremity kind of movement that's taking place. It doesn't make this look clean. So far, there hasn't been a moment where it looks unison. It looks like we're trying to do, we're doing a lot of dynamics, some stops, some looks, interesting formation choices, but because the transitions aren't as clear in those, as well as when they do choose to go into unison, it's not clean. It's hard for me to appreciate the abstract attempts and risks that they're trying to go for here. Like that right there. A lot of their range was really off. Some of them were trying to pull the shoulder, some of them were trying to lift it up, and some were trying to take a more laid back approach. All of those would be fine if we just picked one, you know, so we need to have more clarity. I love the energy, boom, hit, boom, you know, but also we're still riding, like right here. I really feel like her movement got cut off just a little bit is what it felt like, you know, and how they bled over into each of their movements. Part of me wishes that they were still riding that wave, but the wave's not getting any bigger, and it's not, it's kind of chilling out or stalling out is what it feels like here. Because we're still molding into what we saw with Floor's first set, but it's not building at all. Even the second section, it was really nice, but it's not taking us anywhere. It could be because of the mashup, I don't know, but it definitely, there's not a refinement or a tight-knit There's no synchronicity that we can rely upon here. They're still trying to pull abstract, but even in their transitions are more of the simpler, like they have simple transitions, or they're making them more art. There's a lot of like artist choice that's happening in this section, and I feel like that's what's contributing to making it feel more muddled and not as unified, you know, where everybody was like, okay, let's just do this. But I like this ending. This ending is really fun, really great way they all finish at the same time, but I really feel like they didn't give us a lot of unison. And normally I say the opposite. Normally I'm like, oh, we need to see more dynamics, but you do need to have some sense of unison to make it feel more unified, right? Especially when we are aware there are two crews or there's multiple, it's like a melting pot that's taking place, and that is a criteria that we're seeing here. I really feel like it wasn't as cohesive in the unison as we were seeing the attempts of the dynamics. But I will say my key word in all this is attempt. Some of these landed well, but some of them I feel like kind of fell short a little bit. Part of it was their costume. I really feel that way. And then part of it stems from not everybody was in check with their range, and that really affected the flow of the costume, flow of how they went from point A to point B in their content and in their transitions. So for me, I feel like this group will probably, if we're going off of scoring, remember I don't know the criteria, so I'm kind of ballparking it around where other groups have landed based on what had been said about them. I'm thinking probably, I would not be surprised if this was hanging out in the 250s to 260s, is really what my gut's telling me. But once again, I don't know what the itemization of the criteria that these master judges are looking at. And I don't know how these scored globally either. So this is really gonna be a toss-up for me, but that's what I'm gonna say right now. Well, I'm about to find out if I'm pretty close though, but yeah, we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more Street Dance Girl Fighter content, Street Fighter content in general, K-pop dance content, things of the like, I have that not only on YouTube, but I have so much of it that is early release or exclusive to Patreon, whether that's copyright or very special incentives for Patreon, like bonus clips that we take a look at and react to, things like that. So if that's something that intrigues you, you can head over there and check it out. But if you're okay with just seeing what I post on YouTube daily, I'm really excited for that opportunity to be able to discuss that with you both either on Patreon or on YouTube. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Bye!